All right, we're recording.
So, welcome everyone to today's Independence Amplified Maryland. This Maryland Centers for Independent Living for several months have been hosting these weekly live streams to highlight areas of interest for people with disabilities and our community partners in Maryland and beyond. Today, we are so excited to have Ben Jackson here from Disability Rights Maryland. And before I turn the floor over to him, just a few reminders. Everyone is going to be muted if you are not already. If you can, it's easier for us if you use the chat box to do your questions, and you can put them in there. And then when we get to the end, we will go through and make sure that they get answered. If you can't do that, just wait till the end and you can unmute yourself and ask it. If you are calling by phone, if you would like to unmute yourself, you have to press *6, I believe. There's different ways in which you can see the screen. You can see just the speaker talking, or you can do the Brady Bunch style screen by clicking in the upper right-hand corner, the view button. You have some options there.
What's the Brady Bunch?
Like, here's a story of a lovely lady. And then there's pictures of them in boxes. So that's what it looks like on my screen. I get to see everyone's smiling faces. I think that's all. We're going to have time at the end again for questions, and then any community announcements. Any community partners have announcements they would like to make, we will leave that open. So Ben, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for coming. My name is Ben Jackson. I'm a staff attorney at Disability Rights Maryland. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with Disability Rights Maryland, Disability Rights Maryland is Maryland's protection and advocacy organization. It is a federally mandated program to provide legal services to individuals with disabilities. My primary focuses are on employment, and voting. And so this afternoon, I'll be talking to you about voting rights and kind of going through the nuts and bolts of the election and voting process. And then at the end, if there are questions, I'd be happy to answer them. All right, so the deadline to register remotely for the presidential general election is October 13th, 2020. There's an online voter registration system, and I can follow up with links so you all have it, or maybe put them in the chat later, and you have until 9 p.m. to submit your application. If you move or if anything happens between now and then, or for whatever reason, you can't register remotely by October 13th, there is still same-day voter registration in Maryland. And so the only difference is you'd have to go to a vote center, which I know most people are trying to avoid to reduce contact with the novel coronavirus. And along the lines of voting remotely, the absentee ballot request deadline is October 20th if you want to receive your ballot by mail or fax, and it's Friday, October 30th if you want to download your ballot from the state website. And so you can register online through the State Board of Election, and I encourage everyone to definitely go to the online voter registration system, even if you have voted for the past 10 elections in a row, including non-general election years, to ensure that check your voter registration, make sure that your address is up to date, because the state will be sending you an absentee ballot request. You can request your ballot prior to that, but the state is sending it. So if you want to wait on that, that is an option that is available to you. You can request your ballot, your vote by mail ballot online, or you can call or email your local Board of Elections. And that's the same way that you request your electronic ballot delivery. And so prior to us formally starting this presentation, Mike had discussed his experience and reviewed the language on the website that, and it's kind of discouraging to voters. And so that language, but if you want to vote, cast your ballot, privately and independently, and you have screen reader technology or whatever technology that you use at home, whatever assistive technology, whatever reasonable accommodations that you have, requesting your electronic ballot, which will be emailed, a link will be emailed to you, is a safe and secure process. Once you still have to mail the ballot in or drop it in the drop box. What will happen is the ballot will be opened and it will be transferred onto an actual ballot that can be read by the scanners. But two individuals, likely from different parties, so it's either a Democrat or a Republican, or a Republican independent, or any combination of that sort, will be reviewing it to make sure that your ballots are done accurately. And what was done with the primary and what might be done with the general is they might have a live stream so other individuals can watch and ensure that the process is safe and secure. When the ballots are ready, the Board of Elections will send you a link to your ballot. And as I previously discussed, you have to print your ballot and return it to either a drop box. You can drop it off at the, a vote center, or you can put it in the mail. And as Mike has discussed, the electronic ballots have not been sent yet, but they could be sent to your spam filter in your email. So you want to double check that you haven't missed it. I think the difficulty of why it hasn't been sent yet and why it's not instantaneous is that there were 1,900 different ballot styles for this Maryland election, because our General Assembly members have requested precinct level reporting for our elections. And so precincts cross-cut different elections. And so there's a lot of different ballot styles. And so they have to make sure that they have all of those done correctly. And in order to vote electronically, a voter will have to have a device that connects to the internet and a printer. That may be a barrier to some. And so I encourage, if you have a friend or family member, neighbor, whoever is in your quarantine bubble, if they have the technology that you need in order to vote electronically, that you might call them, text them, whatever, knock on their door, because there's no large scale effort of providing voters this technology that for whatever reason they might not have access to. Once the ballot has been created, you get sent a link, and in that link they'll have a ballot access code, and so you'll enter in that ballot, so only you will have access to that ballot. And so another just level of security as far as voting electronically is concerned. Then you'll select how you want to process your ballot, if you want to mark online and then print it, or if there's another way that you want to process your ballot application. And then you'll have the opportunity to vote. You'll have, if you have a screen reader or whatever technology that you have to access the screen, it will give you the different contests. And so you'll select a contest. So you'll select the race for Congress, you'll select a president, Board of Election, whichever contests are up for you individually, and it'll read it out to you. And if there's a state question, again, you'll select that and it will read it out to you. Then you'll mark it and it will verify that. And at the end, it should read out, if you want to, all of your selections, so you know that whoever you intended on selecting was selected. And then finally, you print out the envelope or your ballot, and then you send it in. In addition, large print ballots are available, but again, you have to call your local Board of Elections. If you face any difficulties with requesting electronic ballot or a large print ballot, please get in contact with me. My information is going to be on the last slide, but if you face any difficulty, please reach out to me so I can work with the state or local board to see what, if any, difficulties you are facing. And finally, you can still vote in person. That is an option. The drop boxes will be available until Election Day, and there's a link where the drop boxes are across the state. Early voting centers are open from October 26th through Monday, November 2nd. And again, there's a link here that I can provide to you all of where the early voting centers are. And it's a PDF and it's broken down by county, but they also have an Excel spreadsheet. And if you have a chance and you want to take a look at what voting centers are in your county, I'm not going to have the opportunity to look at all of the different voting centers to make sure they're accessible. In the past, they've used different public buildings such as schools or firehouses, which are accessible. But if you review the list for your county and you look at a location and you know for a fact, or you think that there's a limited amount of parking, or you know that there's construction nearby, any of those kind of on the ground level details, it'd be really helpful for you all to, let me know, or you can contact your state board or local board of elections directly and let them know that you don't think that this facility, for whatever reason, is accessible. And then finally, the vote centers will be open on November 3rd from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And all voters who are in line by 8 p.m. will be able to vote. And if you have any difficulty on election day, I'll be running a voter rights hotline. Here's all of our information here. And so I deal with voter accessibility issues, whether or not the electronic ballot marking device, the BMD, is on in a local precinct, or if there's a physical accessibility issue of, what happened in, I think, 2018 was there was a door was welded shut that had the ramp to it. And so I had to work with the local board of elections to install a temporary ramp for election day to ensure that there was physical access to the building. But I've seen and heard a few things over, my 4 years doing voter outreach and accessibility. And so I'm happy to, help and assist in whatever ways possible. If there's something else, that there's voter intimidation or something like that at a polling place, then I believe the ACLU, Common Cause, or NAACP have voting rights hotlines on election day. But I'm happy that if you know me and you're comfortable and you want to call me, I'll try to contact whoever I think would be best suited to handle those issues. And again, if you're a part of a different organization besides the independent living centers, and you want Disability Rights Maryland to present, we're happy to do this voting rights presentation or tailor it to the interests of the population that you work with. And so now I've seen a few things popping up here in the chat, so I'm happy to go ahead and start answering some questions. All right, let me start at the top. All right. All right. Okay. Okay, so one question I received is I requested a ballot from the Board of Elections online. They sent me a new voter registration card. Will they be mailing me a ballot via the postal service, or will they send it online? And so you can go onto the State Board of Elections website and it will tell you what you requested. If you want to change it, if you requested it to be sent via the U.S. Postal Service, but you want it sent electronically, you can call your local Board of Elections and update them and say, I know I requested it, but I want it, in this manner, and they should be able to accommodate that request for you. And, the other way is true as well, as if you requested it electronically, but now you want to vote using a ballot that's mailed to you, then you can still call the local Board of Elections and say that you want to change the manner in which you want to vote. Okay. Another question, comment from Cheryl is, I know some library systems are offering curbside printing, so that might be an option. Definitely. If you can call your local library system and see if that's an option for you, if you have a device at home and you can do everything as far as marking and requesting your ballot, but you just need a printer, then yes, I have heard of some library systems who have figured out a way to do it in a socially distant manner. Definitely utilize that resource, which is should be free to you all. And if you want to message me and tell me which voting system or which library system, I would definitely like to uplift them and add that to my presentation so I can ensure that all voters know that is a resource. Yes, and I would agree. I would call the particular branch you want to pick up your ballot from and check first to make sure that they work. And also, drop boxes are going to increase as we get closer to the elections. Yes, everything that Cheryl has said in the comment section here is true. And so that's the reason why I didn't have a start date of when the drop boxes are getting there. Some counties are going to have it before other counties, and some counties have Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and Howard County already have the drop boxes from the special election and from the primary, and other counties do as well. And so they already have a certain stock, and some of them are just ordering them. How can we find out where the drop boxes are? Is it better to put the ballot in drop boxes as opposed to sending it online or putting it in the mailbox? I'll throw in a link to where the ballot drop boxes are, and I don't want to say I don't want to favor one system over another. I think it is what you are most comfortable with as far as drop boxes versus the mail. What I would say is if you are planning on mailing it, to mail it as soon as possible. That you don't want, because there's the issue of having ballots received or in the box on election day versus it being, actually, if you put it in a mailbox and having it actually processed at that same time. So if you're mailing it, mail it as soon as possible, but the drop boxes are a safe and secure option that should be monitored 24/7 for tampering. However, the boxes are unloaded periodically throughout the day. Each county and local board of election is doing it in a different manner based on their capacity. So it just depends on which county system. And so, yeah, I'm looking up right now the voter registration processing. I'm going to put that in the link so everybody can check and see and verify that if you've requested your ballots over the past couple of months, the first wave has started to being sent out. I'm not sure if voters have started to receive them yet, but they should be receiving them by the end of this week and by next week at the earliest. If you haven't received it by then and you've gone online and you've looked and you've seen that it's processing, do feel free to contact your local board of elections to determine what's going on. If they can tell you that you're in the next batch of ballots that are processed, or if your ballot hasn't processed yet, they might be able to give you some more details on that. Yes, if you get a mail-in ballot, you can take it to the drop box. Just make sure that you sign your ballot. They're not going to be matching your signature to your Maryland ID or anything like that, or a driver's license, but do make sure that you mark it. Each board of elections should set up a cure process and the cure process is if there's any kind of discrepancy on your ballot, they're supposed to get in contact with the voter by phone, email if they have it, or by mail as a last resort to get in contact with that voter. So say that you turned it in, but you forgot to sign the envelope. You don't sign your ballot, but you sign the envelope. They're supposed to get in contact with you and give the voter a chance to make any corrections that are necessary. Yes, Darlene, Prince George's County does have drop boxes. Let me see if I can get you guys some of these links that I've been discussing. Okay, here I'm dropping into the chat right now the location for the drop boxes.
So Ben, there were a couple other questions I saw.
Okay, yeah, I might have.
No, you're fine. Maybe they just came into me. I'm not sure. So someone says they plan on going to vote local. Will there be a voting machine for the blind? And will they know how to give instruction on using it?
So yes, there should be a voting system for the blind. They should have the electronic ballot marking device that we've been using since 2016. If you go to your vote center and they do not have that, that is a huge issue. That's a major problem. Please get in contact with me as soon as possible so I can figure out what's going on. As far as whether or not they know how to use the machine, the election judges trainings, at least for Baltimore City, are going to be conducted within the next week or so. So they should be getting trained pretty soon. So I would hope it is a part of their training that they learn how to use that machine. But again, if they have any difficulties or if there are any questions, they should be able to give you the instructions. But if not, I'm familiar with the machine. I've worked with the state and local boards to ensure that, you know, a lot of voters or a lot of election judges know how to use the machine. So I'm happy to troubleshoot any questions that you may have.
Okay. Next one, is there a way you can vote online and not on paper?
No. So, and I want to make sure that I'm answering this 100% correctly, but you can request your ballot be sent to you electronically via email, then use whatever technology on your tablet, computer, and mark your ballot. But the ballot then has to be printed out and then sent in. That Maryland currently does not have the technology where you can vote entirely electronically. West Virginia does. I think there's a county in Oregon and some other Western states do have it where you can do a full electronic. But no, in Maryland, you do have to print out your ballot and then send it in. So just because you mark it on your computer does not mean that ballot's being cast. You have to print it and either mail it, put it in the drop box, or drop it off to a vote center.
Great. If someone has already requested a mail-in ballot, can they still opt to use an early voting location?
Yes, they can. And the only issue would be that you will be given a provisional ballot. So the election systems will wait until they're sure that they haven't received your mail-in ballot, and then you can still go and vote in person, but you're not going to be getting the typical ballot. You're going to be getting a provisional ballot. But you can call your local if you change your mind, and I would encourage you to make that decision as soon as possible. But circumstances change. That's entirely understandable. But if you are planning on voting at a vote center, to call your local board of elections and see if you can cancel that request if they have a process for that. And again, if you're planning on voting in person, early voting, I've heard from the boards of elections that the weekends are the slower times, and typically from between 10 and 2 on election day and during the week are the slowest times for in-person voting. So if you want to go but you want to avoid the crowds, those are the times that I've been told will have the least people typically at the polling places.
Great. If you get a mail-in ballot, can you take it to a drop box?
Yes, you can. If you get a mail-in ballot, that's what I did for the previous election. Got my mail-in ballot, filled it out, and I did it because I wanted to check the accessibility of it, make sure it was, height, make sure that the lever and stuff like that was not, too strong. Just, I went to check it out. So but you can take your ballot. They give you the envelope, seal the envelope, sign the envelope, and you can drop it in the drop box for sure.
Well, this is a good one. So you have to sign one side of the envelope, right? Can you describe for someone who's blind where to sign the envelope? Can that go on the Board of Elections website if it isn't already?
No. You want me to deal with this one, Ben?
I'm happy to have you take it.
There isn't a way to describe exactly where to sign the envelope that we've been able to figure out. We've asked the elections department folks to create a way, and they have failed to do so. So at this point, you still have to have somebody else sign your name in the proper location in order for your ballot to go, or excuse me, show you where to sign your name so that your ballot can go in. We haven't been able to figure out a way to do that otherwise.
Yeah. And the only saving grace of that is that if you can put it in the envelope yourself and seal the envelope, and so that, you know, your privacy is still maintained to some extent.
Right.
So, Ben, I can't remember if it was New York Times or Washington Post. There was an article about voter accessibility, and actually one of our Maryland friends of the IL movement, Cheryl, had the Board of Elections. She worked with them so that they would mark her ballot through a window. She taped it on, you know, she taped it on the outside door, and then she told them who she wanted to vote for. So if all of these options that you're presenting to people are still not going to work, what would you recommend that they do?
Call your local Board of Elections, because you know, that is a very encouraging story of your local boards are generally really great people who want to help, and if they can come up with creative solutions like what happened with Cheryl, where they're able to you know, mark it and sticky note it and then send picture verification, that's great. I would encourage you, if none of the options that I have discussed today work for you, to contact your local board as soon as possible, but also get in contact with me, and then we can try to troubleshoot, you know, try to come up with a really unique solution. I independently would have never been able to come up with something like that, and you know, the fact that the local board was willing to go through that effort is very encouraging to me. But yeah, like if none of these options work for you or someone you know, then definitely just get in contact with your local boards. If the two of y'all can come up with something, fantastic. If you need assistance or you want assistance, I'm happy to provide it. But yeah.
Okay, so another question. Please tell us exactly where we are required to put our signature.
And so that I think Mike kind of covered that, but it's on the envelope for the absentee ballot request, that there's a line on there. If you can't see the line, as Mike has mentioned, that there's no kind of indentation or marking or anything like that that shows you where to sign. So unfortunately, you'll probably need assistance from someone that you know and trust to put your signature on the envelope.
Okay. How much does it cost to vote in Maryland?
Nothing. So the mail-in ballot request will be sent with a envelope that should have prepaid postage on there, so there shouldn't be any cost to you. In addition, the U.S. Postal Service is instructed to mail ballots even without postage. There's a federal law in there. It's very minute and it gets way into the weeds about that. But yeah, it should cost you absolutely nothing to vote.
And so if anyone tells you that something's going to cost money, then people should report that and call you, right?
Yes, 100%. Sorry for not including that. Yes, if somebody's, you know, telling you that it costs something, the only caveat would be is the remote printing service for libraries, if they're charging 10 cents or something like that, or, you know, 15 cents a page or a quarter a page, whatever it is, fine. But then also let me know, and I'll see if I can work with boards of elections to see if we can get some kind of cost sharing to go down.
So one of the things we had talked about kind of before the call while we were just chatting was, you know, reaching people in nursing facilities who might not get their mail. So there was a question, do you know anything about how people in facilities may vote?
Right. So people in facilities have similar options as far as the electronic voting and the mail-in voting. And then with COVID, it's more difficult because based on the protocols of the facility, whether or not people can go to voting centers. But what I've been encouraging people that work with people in facilities, and I've had conversation with, I think the ombudsman person for 17 of our 20 counties here in Maryland, is that you want to ensure that the voter is registered where they are. So going online, and if this is a friend of yours, you can ask them, like, can I check your, if you're worried about that, can I check your voter registration? Because they might be having it sent to an old address. It might not have gotten updated, or they might be getting it sent to a PO box that doesn't forward to where they are. And then once you verify that they're registered at the appropriate place, then you have a conversation and see if they want to vote electronically or if they want to vote by mail. And then if they want to vote by mail, if they have a way to request it in their nursing facility, if they can call or email, great. Or if they have access to do it online, they can. But if, again, they want your assistance, or if you've assisted them in the past, give them a call and see if you can work out a way to, request the ballot for them. Once the ballot is given to them, if they have a relationship or no one trusts the nursing facility staff, they can provide some reasonable accommodations within the nursing location to help a voter, mark their ballot, and they can sign an affidavit to say that they assisted this voter with the application process or the voting process, to make sure that their voting rights are still upheld. Just because you're in a nursing facility doesn't mean you've lost your rights in the state of Maryland. So
Thank you.
I hope that answers the question.
I think Cheryl, you have a question?
Yeah, so this is specific to Baltimore County. The Board of Elections is claiming that all of their vote centers are ADA compliant, and the buildings may or may not be. But I know at least in the section of the county that's referred to as the York Road Corridor, there are no vote centers that are within reasonable walking distance of an MTA bus stop. So for example, the Oregon Ridge vote center is 2 miles from the closest transit stop. And the Board of Elections is saying they've tried to get ones that are closer. Not sure they've tried enough. And I'm wondering if you have any advice for, at this late date, of how to resolve this issue, because not everybody has paratransit or a car.
Definitely, and it's a late date, but it's not too late. And I think advocacy is the biggest thing that you can do. So if you know of people who are, specifically impacted by this, if you can get a number of people together, and really pressure your Board of Elections, and you have, and the caveat to that is, if you have another location that you think would be better suited to your needs, whether making sure it's accessible in distance wise as well as ADA compliant, but having another location is really helpful in these.
So they said that they've checked them all, because there was one that even the state delegation to Annapolis was recommending, which was Fredonia Elementary, and that they can't use any of them because they're concurrently being used as remote learning sites for kids that don't have internet. So
Okay.
they can't use them as both things at the same time.
All right. I think
so we're all kind of stuck.
Yeah, I think this is going to get more in depth. And so if you want to reach out to me, if you want to call or email me, we can set up a time to talk, and then I can see if there's a way that I can contact legislator or local boards and see if we can come up with a solution to this. Because, it's a serious issue if people cannot, reach their polling places. And, that's
okay. Thanks.
Yeah, happy to help.
Right. Any other questions for Ben? Well, I found this to be quite informative. Did someone?
I was going to say, I'm wondering if Janice Jackson is on the line. She may want to talk about her Tote the Vote initiative, but to help people who can't get their ballots to the election centers. She's got an initiative. Are you out there, Janice?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about your
Yes,
initiative.
good afternoon, everyone. Tote Your Vote is really picking up momentum, where we're just reaching out to anyone and everyone we know to personally contact individuals with disabilities to see what kind of help that they need. And as Ben was saying, going into nursing homes and facilities such as nursing homes, it's really difficult. I talked to a young lady who works as the recreation director in the nursing homes and to see what they're actually doing. And they say they're reaching out to the family members of the residents to see if they can come in, and help them fill out the information. But no way are they letting anyone outside of that come in to try to help the individuals. So, but it's actually picking up momentum around the country, and I'm getting emails and stuff about, just thanking, everybody for just coming together and just trying to do everything we can to make sure that our voices are heard. So I'm just keep pushing and pushing the initiative, and time is of essence now. But yeah, Ben was correct in trying to get into facilities. It's really hard. So that's why I'm actually just reaching out to people who may know people that are in nursing homes and stuff, and just to see, what they can do on their end. Yes.
Janice, do you have an information sheet or contact information or website that people, if they're interested in maybe joining in your cause, to contact you?
Actually, I just have a flyer, a fact flyer, letting everybody know what the initiative is and, what it's all about. I don't have a website set up, but I can definitely give you guys the sheet that I do have, the flyer, to just blast it out there. And again, it's just really stating what the initiative is and how anyone that's interested, what they can do to help. You guys didn't get that flyer? Katie, you guys didn't get it?
I did not.
Heather just posted a link to it through the Facebook page.
Oh, okay, great.
Great,
Wonderful.
wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so are there any other questions about any of the voting initiatives? I do want everyone to know that your local Center for Independent Living is here. So if you are trying to figure out what your plan is, this year's a little different, right? Like, you have to have a plan. You can't just go to your polling place. Or you can, it's just a little different. So what is your plan? If you need help kind of figuring out what your plan is, navigating all of these different ways of doing things, contact your local center. I know several of us have step-by-step guides available that have our local county contacts, so that you make sure you get the local specific information that you need. Figure out what your voting plan is for this year.
Yeah, the only thing we can't do is help you. We can't tell you who to vote for. I did have a request the other day from somebody who said, you and I probably think a lot alike. Could you maybe help me? And I said, no.
But we can show you the different websites that can help you consider what your options are. Oh, here's a question. Are there any volunteer organizations that can transport people to polling places? Does anyone know? I know.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
If there's any volunteer organizations that can transport people to polling places?
I do not.
So I do know that when I was a local community organizer, that was something that we worked on. So I don't quite know if there's an organized effort,
So, Katie, I know at least in the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, every county has what's called a central committee for that party, and the central committees usually arrange that. The issue is that usually it's volunteers using their own personal cars. So wheelchair access is going to be an issue, but for people who can get into a sedan, call your local county central committee.
Thank you. And again, if you want to go to the polling place to vote and you're not sure how to get there, contact your local Center for Independent Living, because we can help kind of figure that out and troubleshoot. There could be that there are local volunteer organizations that you would qualify for that could help get you to and from the polling place. But I think it would probably be a very specific county by county kind of thing. All right, so I think if we are done talking about voting, and everyone now has, Sarah, you're on mute. Are you trying to talk to me?
Crosby, I'm trying to remind you. I was sending you a telepathic message that I think Crosby is.
Oh my goodness. Crosby.
Your work wife radars.
It's not working today. Crosby, is there anything you want to discuss? I know you've been working on some voter advocacy activities. You're muted. You're muted. Heather, can you unmute Crosby?
I'm trying, but he has to unmute himself. There we go.
There
Okay,
we go.
how's that? I'm
Good.
having issues with my computer. So, and it's okay. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yep, we got you, Crosby. You're
Okay,
good.
yeah, I don't have anything to add.
Perfect. All right, so now we're going to open it up to community partner updates or SIL updates, events coming up, or things that you think other people ought to know. Do I have any takers on that? Sarah, I think you had something.
Thank you. I just want to invite everyone. Independence Now is having a fundraiser, a virtual murder mystery event on November 1st, 7 to 9 p.m. And I put the link in the chat to purchase tickets. So we hope you'll all want to support Independence Now and get tickets to come and catch a killer from your couch. Thank you.
Catch a killer from your couch.
Actually, I didn't make that up. The lady who's hosting it says that, and I think
Good. It's good.
So next Wednesday, Accessible Resources for Independence, the SIL serving Howard and Anne Arundel County, is going to be having a discussion with the Maryland Transit Administration and other local community people and people with disabilities to discuss changes that MTA is looking to make to routes that might impact. Audrey, did you want to talk a little bit about that? And I'll get the address for the register.
Yeah, so that is this Wednesday, the Wednesday happening in 2 days from now. It's from 1 to 2 p.m. and it's going to be great. So there are some budget cuts that MTA announced. You might have heard of them, which would result in service changes and even MTA mobility service being just completely done in lots of areas in Central Maryland. And those changes would come as soon as January 3rd, 2021. So just a couple months away. Once, there's some research on it. I can't quote it, but suffice to say, Cheryl told me yesterday, Cheryl Gottlieb, told me that there is research saying that, once a bus line is cut, once service changes are, once service is decreased, it takes decades and decades and decades to get that back. So this is really the time to advocate for the needs of people with disabilities, who as we know, have all different kinds of abilities and challenges. So so this is the time. So anyway, so we're going to be talking about that with MTA. MTA will be presenting on the service cuts that they propose. and how they will impact Anne Arundel and Howard County residents with disabilities at our info session this Wednesday, 1 to 2 p.m. They'll be taking questions. It might get spicy, so tune in.
Thanks. I must still be living in last week. I haven't quite entered this week. Ben, are you still there?
I am. I'm still
Okay,
here.
so someone wanted to know if you could just review the general areas that DRM addresses.
Sure. So a lot of different areas. So we have, we do transportation, DD, developmental disability advocacy, education, housing, mental health work. We also do prisons rights, Medicaid, community integration work, and voting. And I think that's probably the grand scheme of different voting or different areas that we work on. And then if you want to check our website, there's our advocacy service plan. So it talks about, you know, what are our priorities for this area, and then annually people, anyone from the community can provide input on what they think we should be taking a look at.
Thank you. Okay, I'm not seeing any other things in the chat. Is there anyone else? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Oh, Abiola. You're muted.
Good. Ben, hi, good afternoon. Right now, with everything that's happening with COVID, can a property refuse to respond to reasonable accommodation requests, including installation of grad bars or readjustment of grad bars?
That would be a issue for our housing unit. If you want to send me an email, then I'd be happy to contact with you and put you in touch with them. But
Or send it to me, Fabiola, and I'll get it to David.
yeah, I mean, generally speaking, no, but there are some other extenuating circumstances that I'd have to be like, okay, well, to determine that. But yeah, we'll connect offline.
Okay. Well, I guess we're going to give you back 8 minutes of your day today. Thank you for tuning in with us. As a reminder, you know, every week when you register for this program, there's a little thing that says, would you like to make a donation? We love donations. It helps us fund this project that we're doing. If we need sign language interpreters, it helps pay for that. We love putting this on for you all, but it can't be done without your support. So any amount you can give would be very much appreciated. And make sure you tell your friends and other community members that you might know who might be interested in hanging out with us on Mondays at 2 p.m. about this. And I guess if there's not anything else, we'll say goodbye.